Graders, and welcome to another reading lesson with Miss Meadows. Today we are going to be continuing with Module 5. I know it has been a long time since we have done our reading lessons on our iPad, so a friendly reminder that today you are going to need your My Book, but make sure it is tucked under your iPad until we get there. We are going to be doing our vocabulary first. Remember that the expectation is that when I ask a question, you answer it out loud. Answer it into that microphone so that I can hear you when you are saying your answers. That's how I know that you're learning, because I don't want you to have to come back to the carpet to do your learning. So remember, make sure that you are saying answers out loud, that you are watching, that you are listening. And when this video is all done, that is when you are able to go over to your reading choice board and pick any of the gem choices to earn some gems for your jar. But before we get to that, we have to do a couple of things first. We need to first do our vocabulary. And our vocabulary today, we just have a couple of words to do, but we are going to start with the word shivering. Can you say the word shivering? Very good. Shivering is a verb or an action word. If you are shivering, you are shaking because of how cold it is. Last week, a couple of friends were saying that they were shivering in our classroom. It was pretty cold in our classroom. That means your body is shaking. These friends up here are shivering, so they are wearing warm clothes so that they can stay warm even when wherever they are is cold. We wear warm clothes in the winter so that we don't shiver outside. Shivering. Our next word is starry. Can you say starry? Very good. Starry is an adjective or a describing word. Something that is starry is bright and full of stars. So in the nighttime, if you look up at the sky, you can see a starry sky because at night it is full of stars for you to see. So last night when I looked at the sky, I looked up and I saw the most beautiful starry sky, full of stars up in the sky. That is a starry sky. You only see those at nighttime. So at nighttime, make sure you look up in the sky to see those beautiful stars. Our next word is creatures. Say creatures. Very good. We have a few examples of creatures here. We've got a bird. It looks like a chameleon here, a tarantula, and a goldfish. Creatures is a noun or a person, place, or thing word. Creatures are all kinds of animals. So there is a variety of creatures in the world. You can find a variety of creatures at the pet store. You can find creatures all over the place. So many creatures like spiders or squirrels or groundhogs or bugs live in my front yard. I could find those at any given point. So that is a creature. The next word is swooping. Say swooping. Very good. Swooping is a verb or an action word. If something is swooping, it is flying fast and smooth down and up. So it would be flying swoop, swoop, swoop. There are many seagulls here who are swooping down to get food off of the beach. They are swooping down to get it. They're flying fast down to get it and then back up to go back up in the sky. They are swooping. Alrighty, and then reaching is our next word. Can you say reaching? Very good. Reaching is a verb or an action word. When something is reaching a place, it is getting there. So for example, here Marcus is reaching the finish line before anyone else, which means he gets to come in first place. He's reaching or getting to the finish line before anyone else does. And I believe that is it for our vocabulary words. So we are going to jump right over to our anchor chart today. We're going to be talking about topic and central idea. You might remember this light bulb from before. The topic is the person or thing the text is about. And then the central idea, or the most important idea or point about the topic. So the topic is what the person or the thing that the text is about. And then the central idea is the most important idea. So if I was telling a story about Miss Meadows, the story would be about Miss Meadows. But the central idea might be about how Miss Meadows is a teacher and how Miss Meadows has her own classroom. And then the supporting evidence are details, facts, or examples in the text that tell about the central ideas. So the supporting evidence in the Miss Meadows story might be the different students in my classroom. It might be what my classroom looks like. It might be what we learn about in our classroom. But I would be the topic. The central idea would be that I am a teacher. And then that supporting evidence would be the details about that. So this story is just a read aloud story. It is not in your My Book, so you do not need your My Book today. You just need to listen. And today our story is called Oscar and the Moth, and it is a book about light and dark. So right now, Miss Meadows is sitting somewhere where it is light because you can see me. There is a light on that is making it so that you are able to see me. But if this light was off, it would be dark and you would not be able to see me. And we are going to talk about the difference between light and dark. Our author is Jeff Waring, the person who writes these words. And then the title again is Oscar and the Moth. And by looking at this picture, I would guess that Oscar is this cat we see here. And Oscar and the moth, here is the moth. And I wonder what they're going to explore together. I bet it's about light and dark, but I wonder how they're going to discover light and dark. Oscar and the moth. Let me move myself. All right. One summer evening, Oscar lay on the warm back step. Moth was just waking up. Where does the sun go at night? Oscar asked her. What a good question. Doesn't go anywhere, Moth answered, but the earth is always turning around. Now it's turning slowly away from the sun. Oscar was surprised. I'm not turning around, he said. So, we can only see the sun at certain times in the day. When it is light outside, we can see the sun, but the sun doesn't move. The earth is moving. So if this is the sun and this is the earth is turning and turning. So the sun's not moving, but the earth is turning. So if we're here, now we're close to the sun, we can see the sun. But when we turn away from the sun, we can't see the sun anymore. That's when it becomes nighttime, when we are away from the sun. So the sun doesn't go anywhere, but we on the earth go anywhere. But Oscar is surprised. He's saying, I'm not turning around. Let's see what happens. We can't feel it. Whoa. We can't feel it, Moth said, but we can see it. When our side of the earth turns towards the sun, it gets light. But when it turns away again, it gets dark. So here we see kind of a description of what it looks like when the sun is turning towards the sun. When it's morning, we are starting to be able to see the sun. As the earth keeps turning at lunchtime, the sun is at the highest point in the sky. And then when it gets to be evening or nighttime and we're turning away from the sun, see how the sun is going away? So it is coming, it is at the top, and then as it gets to be nighttime, it goes away. Oscar sat up. I'm cold, he said, shivering. It's because we've turned away from the sun, said Moth, and now we don't have the sun's light or its warmth. That's why it's almost always colder at night than during the day. So the sun doesn't just give us light, it also gives us warmth or heat. So when it is nighttime, it is usually colder than it is during the day because we do not have the sun's warmth. We only have the moon, which gives us some light, not as much as the sun, but it does not give us heat. So if you go outside at nighttime, it is colder than when you go out during the daytime because we do not have the warmth from the sun. Just then, the outside lamp came on. Moth flew towards it. I sleep during the day, she said, so I don't see the sun, but I love the lamp's light and its warmth. So the moth is what we would call nocturnal. Can you say nocturnal? Very, very good. So when it is nighttime, the moth is awake. So the moth sleeps when it is nighttime, and it sleeps when it is daytime and is awake at nighttime, the opposite of us. But then the moth can't get warm from the sun like we do. So what the moth does is it goes towards lamps, because those lamps are what keep it warm. That light that lamps give off get warm enough that it keeps the moth warm. So when the moth sleeps, or when it wants to just get a little warm, it finds a lamp to go to stay warm. Oscar looked up. He could feel the lamp's warm light on his face. "Is the lamp as hot as the sun?" he asked. "No," said Moth. "The sun is our brightest and hottest light." "Are all lights hot?" Oscar asked. "Not all," said Moth, "but many are." What happens with lights is if you take a look around in your classroom and see if you can find a lamp or a light. If that lamp has been on for a long time, it's going to be hotter. But if your teacher just turned it on a second ago, it's not going to be very hot. Maybe hot enough to keep a moth warm, but not hot enough to keep you warm. And if it's been on for a long time, it's not going to warm up our classroom, but if you were to touch the light bulb, it might burn your finger a little bit if it had been on for a long time. Oscar climbed off the step and looked out at the starry sky. Moth flew down to join him. "You can only see the stars at night," she said. "They are always shining, but you can't see them during the day because of the light from the sun. Our sun is a star too. It is closer to the earth than the other stars are, so its light is much brighter to us than theirs, and it looks very big. It's crazy to me to think that our sun is also a star. So all those stars you see in the sky are hot like the sun is to us, but the sun is much closer to us, so it's hotter to us, and it makes our earth feel warm. Those other stars are so far away that we can see them in the sky, but we don't feel the warmth from them." Moth flew towards the street. "Without the sun's light, we need other lights to help us," she said. Oscar could see the lights of an airplane, a street light, and a lamp in the window. "What are those little lights?" he asked. "They're dancing." He's talking about these ones that are moving around. "Those are fireflies," Moth said. "They're beetles that make their own light." So he's talking about fireflies. Fireflies come out at nighttime, and parts of their bodies light up. So when they fly around, it looks like little lights flying all over. And she told Oscar about how some living creatures make light in their body. So we've got male fireflies wait until dusk to fly up and show off to female fireflies by flashing light signals. Malaysian land snails wake up at night and flash green signals to each other. How cool. The sun's light does not reach far into the sea, and many sea creatures make their own light. If anything tries to eat a swordfish squid, it squirts a glowing ink cloud. This dazzles the hungry fish, allowing the squid to escape. The rim of a crystal jellyfish glows green when it is disturbed. There's a poisonous millipede found in California that lights up at night to warn other animals not to eat it. And the anglerfish lives in the deep sea. It has a big spine on its head with a tip that glows blue-green. The tip acts as bait to lure other fish, which the anglerfish then eats. Oscar says, "I wish I could glow too," Oscar said. Pretty cool to learn about those different types of animals that glow. Just then, Oscar noticed something swooping around. "Look, Moth, there's your shadow," he called. "My body is stopping some of the light from reaching the wall," Moth said. "It leaves a dark patch that's the same shape as me." "Where's my shadow?" asked Oscar. "If you stand up," Moth said, "you'll see." Oscar got up. There was an Oscar-shaped shadow on the wall. Oscar lay down again, and so did his shadow. He closed his eyes. The dark behind his eyelids made him feel sleepy. "Is it nearly morning?" he said with a yawn. "Not yet, Oscar," said Moth. But Oscar didn't hear her. He was already dreaming about the bright sun, the shining stars, and the deep sea fishes. So this says, thinking about light. Talking with Moth, Oscar found out that light comes from many different sources like the sun, lamps, stars, and living creatures, and some lights are brighter than others. Many lights are hot. The sun's heat means that it is usually warmer during the day than at night, so it's warm or cold. It says, what lights can you see around you now? If the sun is shining, don't look at it directly. It's too bright. And then it says, I'm thinking about light and dark. Many lights are easier to see at night, like stars and fireflies. When we don't have the sun's light, we need other lights like airplane lights or street lights. When something blocks the light, it makes a shadow. The dark can make us feel sleepy. And then it says, do you turn off the lights in your bedroom before you go to sleep at night? If you keep a nightlight on, does it make shadows? Oscar thinks light and dark are great. Do you think so too? So that is the end of our story today. Think about those questions about light and dark. Look around your classroom and see if you can find different lights in your classroom. You are now free to move on to your gem board. Go ahead and get those papers out and work on those to earn some gems for your jar. I had so much fun reading with you today, and I hope you enjoyed our story about light and dark. And I will see you tomorrow for another story. Bye, friends.